We are once again doing an NHL Draft Lottery Simulation and a mock draft for the first 16 selections, and that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're once again jumping onto the Draft Lottery Simulator to see what the outcome might be for who will pick first overall in the upcoming 2022 NHL Draft. Of course, we know the actual real Draft Lottery will now take place on the evening of May the 10th. So we'll probably complete this a couple more times, mainly just because it's fun. It's interesting and fun to look at different outcomes to see who would pick first overall and how that would impact the remainder of the early part of the first round. And obviously it'll impact what players go to what teams, etc. We've completed this, I believe, 4 other times since Christmas when we first started doing this. And I believe we've had the Montreal Canadiens win a couple times. I think the Islanders won the lottery one time, and I think the Canucks won another time. So hopefully we get a different outcome and see who can actually, impact the order and who might jump up here today. So let's hop onto the computer. We'll go to tankathon.com, and then we will, of course, review the standings and complete this simulation. Okay, so here we are on tankathon.com. Before we simulate the draft lottery, I just want to take a quick look here at the current draft order. Right now, based on standings, Arizona is the number 1 pick. Montreal would be next. So, of course, this is a reverse order in the standings. Who has the best chance to win? Seattle's at 3. Philadelphia's at 4. The Devils would be at 5. The Jackets, by way of Chicago, would be at 6. Ottawa would be at 7. Detroit would be 8. Buffalo 9. San Jose 10. Anaheim 11, Columbus is 12, Winnipeg's 11, the Islanders are 14, and the Canucks are 15, with the Sabres taking pick 16, which belongs to originally to Vegas, which they picked up in the Jack Eichel trade. So we're as far as we're going today, since that's the only part of the order that we're going to do for right now, because that's the lottery portion. We'll do some bigger mock drafts once we know the confirmed order a little bit later into the season here. So now here we go with the draft lottery simulation. A couple reminders. You can only move up a maximum of 10 spots. It's only the first 2 spots up for grabs. So we will only see teams move maximum of 10. So if any of these teams from 12 down to 16 win the lottery, they will not be going all the way to number 1, and Arizona will remain in that spot. And of course, we're going to be keeping track now moving forward who wins the lottery. So you can only have maximum 2 wins in the next 5 seasons. So here we go with the draft lottery simulation. Who will get the first overall pick in the 2022 NHL draft? And there you have it, folks. The Detroit Red Wings win the draft lottery. They move up a whopping 7 spots. Detroit, traditionally in the last few years here since they've been missing the playoffs, have not really had an overly good luck streak in this lottery, but they did today. Of course, this is only a simulation, so we'll see how they really do on May 10th when everything is finalized. But so Detroit moves up. Arizona obviously gets the 2nd spot. So they move down 1, and everybody else below them will go down 1 all the way down as far as Detroit. So we got Detroit, Arizona, Montreal picks 3rd, Seattle 4th, Philly 5th, New Jersey 6th. Columbus will hold on to the number 7 pick by way of Chicago. Ottawa will be 8th, and then everybody else after that will remain where they were in the current standing. So now let's jump over here to the next section of the video where we're going to complete the mock draft for those first 16 selections. Selecting first overall, we have the Detroit Red Wings, and there is no dispute here. Shane Wright will be the first overall pick and go to Detroit. They could certainly use an extra strong center in their prospect pool. There's no doubt about that. And I think regardless here, you take the best player available in the spot as well. I know there's some concerns over Wright's ability to be an elite player at the NHL level. He started slow this year, but really picked things up. Now has 94 points in 63 games in the OHL for the Kingston Frontenacs. Had a solid appearance for Team Canada at the World Juniors, and I have no doubt he'll be the first overall selection. Could he maybe be not as high level as some other first-round picks? That's possible. He does draw some comparisons to Patrice Bergeron for being a solid two-way player. Selecting second overall, we have the Arizona Coyotes taking the top defenseman in this draft, Simon Nemec. Now, Nemec to me is a real solid right shot defenseman, real good at both ends of the ice. With this selection, the Coyotes would definitely go with the best player available anyway. In my opinion, they need a little bit of everything. I do think Nemec has the potential to be an elite top right shot D, which is great. If they felt the centerman here or a winger was the best player available, I think they're going to do that as well. The Coyotes are certainly a team going through a major rebuild. They sold off a lot of players. It's going to be some time before they really gain their competitive edge here, but drafting a player like Simon Nemec could be a huge help in taking that team in the right direction. Selecting third overall, we have the Montreal Canadiens, and I have them selecting American-born center Logan Cooley. Now, Logan Cooley's had a tremendously solid offensive production this year, playing in the U.S. NDTP juniors as well as the under-18 team, put up some phenomenal numbers. Playing for the U.S. National U18 team, put up 67 points in 46 games, put up 36 points in 24 games in the USHL as well. He's committed to going to the University of Minnesota, so he will be at least 1, maybe 2 years away before making the jump to the NHL. But if you look at the Habs' overall prospect pool, they're going to certainly be probably going into a deeper rebuild here with more veterans likely being sold off in this offseason coming up. I would think with Nick Suzuki being under contract long-term, Cooley could eventually be that 1-2 punch with him down the middle here. Now, he's not overly huge, about 5'10", about 180 pounds, so he'll likely continue to put on a little bit more muscle before he makes it to the NHL, but still, they probably wouldn't mind a bigger center, but to me, he's just too good to pass up with this pick, and there's really not another top center with the size to go along with it to pick from in this draft anyway. Selecting fourth overall in their second draft is the Seattle Kraken. Them taking a top center iceman, or one of the top centers of the draft here, Matthew Savoie from the WHL's Winnipeg Ice. Now, he's not overly huge, but 5'10", 181 pounds, certainly has a ton of upside on the offensive capabilities here. Now, certainly, this past year, it's been a real solid season for him in Winnipeg, 87 points in 63 games at the WHL. Obviously, Savoie, like I said, he's a little bit undersized, but he makes up for that with his smarts, his skill, and the ability to put the puck in the net. To me, long-term in Seattle, having a number 1-2 punch down the middle of Matthew Savoie and Matty Beniers sounds pretty solid to me. I think he would be a tremendous fit there in Seattle as they continue to build this expansion franchise. Selecting fifth overall, we have the Philadelphia Flyers. No doubt at this point they would select Juraj Slafkovský, of course, a Slovakian winger who can play all 3-4 positions, got lots of size, 6'4", 218 pounds, known for being having a real solid scoring touch, can score the difficult goals, get a real good shot in a variety of different types of ways he can put the puck in the net. With his size and skill, he'd be a tremendous fit here with the Philadelphia Flyers. He might need more time before he makes his NHL debut. I'm not really sure we're going to see many players in his first round go straight to the NHL. Perhaps another year in Europe or in the American Hockey League would be best for him. I do expect the Flyers to be aggressive on a retool this offseason anyway, and maybe he gets some games either at the end of next season or maybe in 2 years from now. But long term, I think he'd be a great fit for their brand of hockey. At number 6 overall, the New Jersey Devils would definitely select David Jiricek. Now, at this point in the draft, I think the Devils really need to focus on what they need, and that's a real solid defender. He would arguably be one of the top players available to spot in the draft regardless, but he's a right-shot defenseman from the Czech Republic. He's a good size, 6'3", 190 pounds. He's a very mobile defender. Has a bomb of a shot, plays a physical brand of hockey. To me, he's going to be a pretty overall solid D-man. He could be a top pair, but I think at the solid, safe bet is at a decent top pair, or top four, right shot D who can help you at both ends of the ice. New Jersey has a lot of interesting young forwards. Their D-core is, they have a couple of guys there that can certainly contribute, but having another solid right shot guy who can play behind Dougie Hamilton would be an absolutely huge help to taking this team forward. Selecting 7th overall from the pick they got from Chicago is Columbus. When I have them selecting Finnish winger Joakim Kemell. Now, of course, his stock, I think it's fair to say, has dropped off a little bit. There were times earlier in the year when he was tracking to be probably a top 3, maybe top 2, 3, 4 player in this draft. I still think he's going to be a decent NHL player. I think the odds of him on a scale of 1 to 10, the odds of him being an NHL regular, I think I'd give it like a 9. But he's a right shot, good skating winger with a great shot, plays a very energetic physical game, and projects to be a top 6 winger, which is certainly something here that the Blue Jackets can benefit from and certainly need. Of course, they have some other players to mix in well, I think, that will play well with Kemell. And, of course, having a Finnish GM, I'm sure, that would help with the connection here to North America, getting him acclimated to the system. Selecting 8th overall, we have the Ottawa Senators, and I have them selecting Brad Lambert, of course, who's playing in Finland, but he's Finland descent as well as Canadian. Obviously, Brad Lambert is one of the more polarizing picks in this draft. And depending on where you look and what resources you use, I've seen him ranked anywhere as from like 5, 6, 7 all the way down to like 20 into the early 20s. At one point in time, a couple of years back even, he was highly regarded as maybe being the #1 overall pick, or at least rivaling Shane Wright for that distinction. He hasn't had the greatest season in Finland this year. Certainly his numbers are not great. He even changed teams, but didn't really see the bump in doing that. But he would look real good, even though it was limited at the World Juniors playing for Finland. He proved that he can play in a variety of forward spots. He's a real good play driver. And with the deep prospect pool that Ottawa has in the forward group, I can see them taking a chance here on Lambert. He's a guy, he's a little bit of a project maybe. Might need an extra year or two to really get his confidence and development up here before having a shot at making his NHL debut. But I think Ottawa's in a position where they can take a chance on doing that with this player. At number 9, we have the Buffalo Sabres. I have them taking U.S.-born center iceman Frank Nazar. Now, Nazar's a little bit on the smaller side, not huge, 5'10", 175. Like I said, he's a center iceman. I wouldn't be shocked if he ended up being a winger at the NHL level because he's a very versatile forward. He's got great speed, but he generates a lot of his offense off the rush and has a quick release. So to me, if he had to move to the wing at the NHL level, I don't see that being an issue. I think he would probably thrive a little bit more, but you never know. He could still possibly end up being a center. I don't think it's a given that he won't be. Of course, like some of his other U.S. national teammates, he will be going into the U.S. college hockey scene, playing for the University of Michigan, which is a great program. They had a stacked team this past year. Unfortunately, fell short at the Frozen Four, just a little short of a national championship. Several of their top players have signed NHL contracts, so that should give Nazar an opportunity to play a solid role and get a big opportunity, and then be primed to join the Sabres in 1 to 2 years down the road. Picking 10th overall, we have the San Jose Sharks. And I have them selecting Swedish forward Jonathan Lekkerimäki. Now, of course, he's a right shot, right winger, 5'11", 172. He's a pure goal scorer who's known to be able to create his own opportunities, has an array of deadly shots in his arsenal, which is certainly screaming top 6 role at the NHL level, ability to score goals. But like I said, he reads the game well, plays at a high pace, is known as a really smart player. The Sharks may have to wait a little bit to get him into their NHL lineup, but I think they're going to probably try to build in other prospects here, like William Eklund on a full-time basis next year, give a bigger role hopefully to Jonathan Dahlen, and try to start turning over that roster from some of the older players to more of their prospects. But Lekkerimäki could be a good fit here in a couple of years' time. Next up, we have the Anaheim Ducks, and I have them selecting Russian-born prospect Danila Yurov. Now, Yurov's a player who's probably going to have his draft stock fall a little bit, mainly because of where he's from. The Russian winger, don't be surprised, because of everything going on between Russia and Ukraine, some teams might shy away from him. I know there's some concerns about, in the future, will Russian players be able to get a work visa in Canada and the U.S.? Will there be further sanctions? Or, will there be additional things that happen here that prevent some of these players from coming over anytime soon? You just never know. So teams might be nervous because of that, but still, he's a versatile player. He plays all 3 forward positions, 6'1", 172. He's known as an intelligent two-way winger who competes hard, has a physical game, and does have the makings to be a solid top 6 or top 9 winger. So to me, I think he will likely make the jump and should be a pretty solid NHL forward, but I think the Ducks are a team here who can take the chance, given where they're entering full rebuild status now. They have a pretty deep prospect pool as well, so I think they're one of the few teams who can afford to kind of take the chance here with this pick. Our next selection belongs to the Columbus Blue Jackets, and we have them selecting American-born player Cutter Gauthier. Gauthier's had a real solid year this year, 28 points in 22 games for the United States national team in the Junior League in the USHL, and of course on the U18 team he put up 53 points in 46 games. He's committed to playing college hockey next year at Boston College, which will be good for his development. So he normally plays the left side, left winger, 6'2", 190 pounds, well-rounded forward, plays a strong game with the puck and away from the puck, has a really solid wrist shot, and right now is projected to be a top 9 goal-scoring winger at the NHL level. So it makes sense here, but at this point in the draft, no matter who they take, they're going to be waiting probably a year or two to have an impact. They might as well take Cutter Gauthier and wait for him to play his college hockey time before making the jump to the NHL. Next up, we have the Winnipeg Jets. We have them taking a big center from a local Winnipeg team. It's been Connor Geekie of the Western Hockey League's Winnipeg Ice. Now, of course, Geekie to me is a good-sized center iceman. He's 6'4", 205 pounds. He's had a real solid offensive season in Winnipeg, putting up 68 points in 61 games. Of course, the Jets' center ice position is going to be very interesting to watch this offseason. We don't know what the future holds for Mark Scheifele. There's been a lot of rumors about a potential trade as the Jets consider reshuffling or retooling after the last couple of years of not having the success they wanted. We don't know the future of Pierre-Luc Dubois, who needs to be the Jets' top priority, in my opinion, to get signed to a long-term extension. But until he's signed, there will be question marks. So either way, even if one of these guys don't return, it's going to be an area of weakness, and it's something they need to focus on. At this point in the draft, it's hard to pass up a big, strong center iceman here like Connor Geekie. To me, would be a tremendous fit, and it shouldn't be too long before jumping into the lineup. At least he has NHL size and strength at his fingertips here already. Next up, we have the New York Islanders, and they will be selecting defenseman Denton Mateychuk. Now, Mateychuk is a player who's likely going to be, fairly high up here in the draft. He's obviously a defenseman for the WHL's Moose Jaw Warriors. WHL's had some good prospects this year, which will go in the top 20 for sure, but he's a mobile, two-way defender who's got a good ability to move the puck. Not somebody who's overly kind of flashy, not always going to grab your attention, but that's sometimes for a defenseman, that's what you want. Sometimes when they're not noticed and they're doing all the little things right, then that's exactly what you need back there, especially somebody who can be on the left side, be a smart, mobile, puck-moving defenseman who could project to be a top four. Ideally, one of the two main things the Islanders need to address this offseason, of course, Mateychuk will take a little bit of time to get there, but really ever since trading Nick Leddy, they've been lacking that one more defenseman, especially on the left side, who can be that puck-moving, good skating, solid two-way player. They could benefit from this. I mean, to me, they could consider a forward or a D in this position. Really boils down to who they feel is best available, and I think he would also be a great fit on Long Island. Selecting next, we have the Vancouver Canucks, and they will take an American-born forward, Jimmy Snuggerud. Now, to be a born player, shoots right, 6'2", 185. Is a real solid, powerful offensive player, has a really solid shot, in my opinion, has the potential to develop into a real solid goal scorer at the NHL level. I mean, like many players, there's still things to work on, but you do see the fundamentals are there. He will be making the jump to U.S. college hockey, like I said, like many of his teammates through the U.S. national team program. He's committed to playing next season at the University of Minnesota. 1, maybe 2 years before making the jump, but to me, he could be well worth the wait. The final selection in this mock draft belongs to the Buffalo Sabres. And another American-born forward, Isaac Howard, will be their selection. Now, Isaac Howard, to me, I think has a solid upside. Currently, right now, he's 5'10", 174. Probably give him a shot of about 8 out of 10 and making the NHL and having an impact. Another player, like many of his teammates here, that are going to be going to U.S. college hockey route. This is the common plan and path for a majority of these U.S. players going through the national team program. He'll play at University of Minnesota Duluth next year. He's a gifted offensive winger with great puck skills and a really solid release. Needs to get stronger, though. Has some top 6 upside, but with a few things to work on, of course, being the caveat there. Obviously, he's not as much of a given as some of the players taken ahead of him, but with the right development and the right coaching, he very well could project to be a solid top 2 or top 3 line player at the NHL level. So those are my top 16 selections for all the non-playoff teams as of today. Of course, this could change, so we will complete this again once the NHL regular season is over. Once we get into the probably the first part of May, we'll do another lottery simulation because we'll know the full standings and where they're not going to be changing. We'll complete an update at mock draft, and then of course we may do another one before the actual draft as the players that we're talking about, their rankings could change as their seasons won't be over. They're going through playoffs, and of course they'll have other events going on through the summer that could impact their draft standing as well. So thank you very much for watching. Give me your comments down below and who you think needs to win this draft lottery the most. Who do you think is going to be the top prospects and where they're going to go? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments and we'll discuss further. If you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We will keep you up to date with all things NHL around the 2022 NHL draft as well as all the news and rumors around the entire league. Thank you for watching and I will catch you next time.